Colonialism and the City. The story of the imperial capital. The might of the Mughal Empire, one of the most powerful empires of the medieval world, had begun to erode rapidly after the death of Aurangzeb in 1707. Wars of succession, attacks on Delhi by Nadir Shah, Surajmal, Abdali and the Marathas, and the breaking away of large territories like Hyderabad and Awadh helped the British consolidate their position, and in 1803, during the Second Anglo-Maratha War, the forces of the British East India Company defeated the Maratha forces in the Battle of Delhi, ending the Maratha rule over the city. As a result, Delhi came under the control of the British East India Company. Between 1836 and 1858, Delhi was a part of what then was known as the Northwestern Provinces. It passed into the direct control of the British government in 1857 after the First War of Indian Independence. The city received significant damage during the 1857 siege. Afterwards, the last titular Mughal Emperor Bahadur Shah Zafar II was exiled to Rangoon, and the remaining Mughal territories were annexed as a part of British India. Calcutta was declared the capital of British India. Pre-1857. The Zakir Hussain Delhi College was set up in the 1690s as Madrasa Ghazi Uddin was transformed into the Delhi College and became the first center in Delhi to offer English as a subject, thus earning the ire of a large population of the city that saw this as an unwelcome incursion. The faculty of the college started Delhi Urdu Akhbar, probably the first newspaper in all of North India. Telegraph and photography also began to make their presence felt in the same decades. Post-1857. In 1858, the British Crown took over from the East India Company, and India formally became a colony of the British. Despite their claims, the British were far from magnanimous in victory. A systematic massacre was what was unleashed upon Delhi. Thousands were bayoneted, hung on the gallows, strung up across the city, or tied to cannons and blasted. Jama Masjid became a soldiers' camp, and the Zinat-ul-Masajid became a bakery for the British officers. With the loss of traditional patronage, arts and crafts went into a decline. Poets and artists left Delhi in search of new patrons. Ghalib lost his court pension and died in extreme penury. Many Delhi traders began to curry favor with the new masters, requesting a rail link to Calcutta for better trading opportunities. After much persuasion, the British agreed, and the railways arrived in the mid-1860s. The Lothian Railway Bridge divided the city in two parts. To its south lived the natives, while to its north in Kashmiri Gate and beyond lived the British and their hangers-on. The Jahanara Sarai was demolished to build the town hall. Opposite the town hall, the traditional Lal Kila Masjid Fatehpur east-west axis was now changed to the railway station. Municipality. In 1874, the first municipal body for Delhi acquired all villages surrounding the walled city for future urban growth. The white civilian population lived north of the Lothian Bridge and the army inside the Red Fort. When the supply of piped water began in the 1890s through the setting up of the Chandraval Water Works, a rudimentary wastewater disposal system was also put in place. Two stormwater drains replaced the Mughal-era drains. The Salim Ghar drain to exclusively handle the waste from Kashmiri Gate area and the Red Fort cantonment to the Jamuna, while the other carried the wastewater from the native quarters. This practice of drawing water from upstream for consumption and dumping waste at a point downstream of the intake has been followed till today. The growth of the city. Delhi was made a part of the Punjab. Though the Muslim nobility and artisans that were forced out or had fled from the city were not allowed to return for many years, the population of the city began to grow with the influx from Punjab and the northwest frontier provinces. Trade, commerce and manufacturing activities began to expand. The Delhi Bank of Lala Chunnamal, set up in 1850, was destroyed in 1857, but was reborn in 1859 under Chunna Mal's patronage, and many loyalist Sahukars and traders bought shares in the enterprise. By 1896, Delhi was the seventh largest town in India, and by 1896, it was the richest town in all of Punjab. Lord Curzon was the Viceroy of India between 1898 and 1905. It is during his tenure, Delhi witnessed the development of a systematic policy of conservation, preservation, and documentation of heritage. Curzon's interest in conservation led to the preservation of many monuments of Delhi that had been badly damaged. Issues of education, language, and of city governance came to the fore during this period. Delhi expanded rapidly from the 1890s onwards and soon emerged as the commercial capital of Punjab. Electricity also arrived to the city. New Delhi as a capital. On 11th December 1911, the Grand Darbar was inaugurated for King George V, who had been crowned earlier in London in May of 1910. At the coronation ceremony, King George V announced the shifting of the capital back to Delhi. The capital finally shifted in 1912. Construction of Viceroy's house began in 1913. Work on the Connaught Place began as late as 1928, and the name New Delhi was finally decided in 1927. New Delhi was constructed as a 10 square mile city on Raisina Hill, south of the existing city. Two architects, Edward Lutyens and Herbert Baker, were called on to design New Delhi and its buildings. A Mio village in Raisina Hill was chosen for the Rashtrapati Bhavan, then known as the Viceroy's house. The Rajpath, also known as the King's Way, stretched from the India Gate to the Rashtrapati Bhavan. The Secretariat building, the two blocks of which flanked the Rashtrapati Bhavan and the house of various ministries of the Government of India and the Parliament House, both designed by Herbert Baker, are located at the Sansad Marg and run parallel to the Rajpath. In the south, land up to the Safdarjung Tomb was acquired in order to create what is today known as Lutyens Bungalow Zone. Before construction could begin on the rocky ridge of the Raisina Hill, a circular railway line around the council house, called as the Imperial Delhi Railway, was built to transport construction material and workers for the next 20 years. The New Delhi railway station opened in 1926 with a single platform at Ajmeri Gate near Paharganj and was completed in time for the city's inauguration in 1931. Delhi during partition. With independence came the partition, and with partition came a total transformation in the life of all of Delhi. Muslims were the targets in large parts of North India, and tens of thousands from Shahjahanabad and from the Delhi villages sought refuge in Purana Killa and Humayun's tomb, the two camps set up for Muslim refugees. Hundreds of thousands of Hindus and Sikhs poured into Delhi from what was now West Pakistan and were settled in camps across the city or took shelter where they found it. These camps later developed into areas like Nirankari Colony, Tilak Nagar, Ramesh Nagar, Ashok Nagar, Moti Nagar, Rajendra Nagar, Patel Nagar, Lajpat Nagar and Karbala from the early 50s. The camping site of the refugees from East Pakistan eventually became Chittaranjan Park in the 1970s. Delhi had taken a life of its own. No one was planning it any longer, and it grew to accommodate the shelterless. The area that was New Delhi began to change rapidly. Chanakyapuri came up as a diplomatic enclave. The Ashoka, the Janpath Hotel and the Lodi hotels came up to cater to the rising number of visitors to the capital of independent India. New markets like the Ghaffar Market, Khan Market, Shankar Market, Meherchand Market, Sarojini Nagar markets came up to meet the requirements of an ever-expanding population. Summary: direct control of the British government in 1857 after the First War of Indian Independence. The city received significant damage during the 1857 siege. Calcutta was declared the capital of British India. In 1858, the British Crown took over from the East India Company and India formally became a colony of the British. With the loss of traditional patronage, arts and crafts went into decline. Poets and artists left Delhi in search of new patrons. Ghalib himself lost his court pension and died in extreme penury. Railways arrived in the mid-1860s. In 1874, the first municipal body of Delhi, which was first set up in 1863, acquired all villages surrounding the walled city for future urban growth. 2 stormwater drains replaced the Mughal-era drains. Lord Curzon was the Viceroy of India between 1898 and 1905. His tenure in Delhi witnessed the development of a systematic policy of conservation, preservation, and documentation of heritage. At the coronation ceremony in 1911, King George V announced the shifting of the capital back to Delhi. The capital finally shifted in 1912. Construction of the Viceroy's house began in 1913. Work on the Connaught Place began as late as 1928, and the name New Delhi was finally decided in 1927. New Delhi was constructed as a 10 square mile city on Raisina Hill, south of the existing city. With independence came partition, and with partition came a total transformation in the life of all of Delhi. Muslims were the targets in large parts of North India, and tens of thousands from Shah Jahanabad and from the Delhi villages sought refuge in Purana Killa and Humayun's tomb.